Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to whatever this is. It's not Facebook Live because I'm not broadcasting this thing live. I am recording a Zoom conversation with my great friend, Kevin Davis. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. I am not the world's greatest interviewer. In fact, interview format podcasts or content of any nature is like my least favorite format for content in the world. So I don't even want to improve upon my interviewing skills. But I do want to have a conversation with Kevin about the ketogenic lifestyle or the keto diet.
Right.
And I have absolutely been in love with the ketogenic lifestyle for, gosh, was it May of 2019 is when I started? Or was it sooner than that?
So it's been a year.
No, it may actually been May 2000. It was May of 2019 or somewhere back in there.
Because I thought we first talked like last summer when I joined the mastermind. You had been on it for a few months, and I joined either in June or July. So
So
I think it's been about a year.
it's been more now that I'm looking at it. So I'm looking for keto. I'm looking in my archives of the audio journal podcast.
Mhm.
And so here we go. Actually, it was. I can tell you. Keto update number 1, May 8th, 2019.
I thought it was a couple months before I joined.
Yeah. So here we are 1 year later. So what a better time to talk about my keto update or my keto lifestyle
Mhm.
now that I've actually been doing keto for an entire year.
Right. We've been doing it for 4 years.
You and Danae,
And my
your
wife,
wife.
Danae.
Now, first of all, before we begin, Kevin, tell those who are watching this on Facebook or YouTube a little bit about your medical background so that they can understand where you're coming from an expertise standpoint.
I'm a physician assistant. Been in practice since 1994. We have our own clinic here in Knott County, which is in the same state as you are, Kentucky. And I've been in my own practice since 2003. So
All
we're coming
right.
up on, we just passed 17 years. And, like with any other medical training, keto is not something that we were taught. It actually started with my wife. She 4 years ago, around this time, was looking for different things as far as like trying to get healthy, maybe lose a few pounds and things like that. So she found something called keto, and she came and talked to me about it. And again, it's everything against what I was taught. We were taught low fat, low fat, low fat all the time. So of course, I wanted to look at it, make sure she wasn't going to do anything to harm herself. But over the next couple of months, the more I researched it, the more it just made sense. So we started doing keto actually on our anniversary weekend 4 years ago, this coming June. And we've been doing it ever since.
Wow. So 4 years. Now, let me ask you this. How hardcore do you guys stick to your ketogenic lifestyle? Do you occasionally break from time to time, like to celebrate with some kind of a sweet treat on an anniversary date or maybe once a month? For four
Yeah.
years, what was it like in the beginning? How strict were you at sticking with the regimen? And then how are you 4 years later?
Well, when we first started, first 3 months, we were really strict. We didn't go off. We kept it down 20, 30 carbs at the most. And we were able to get our results. Both of us lost some weight. Both of us started feeling better. My wife, she quit having headaches. So, we started feeling better. But ever since then, and we started doing, um, uh, as far as like trying to teach people what we do, we have a site called Our Ketogenic Life, and it has to do with a lifestyle. It is not something that, if I come to somebody and they say, I tell them, if their favorite thing is to have cake or pizza or whatever it may be, if I sit and tell them they will never be able to eat that again, I've kind of lost them at the beginning because they're looking at the short term. So what we did is we tried to, we were really strict to begin with, but since then we've developed a lifestyle to where we can incorporate, special occasions, occasional, ice cream or whatever it may be, and still maintain the results that we have. And we've been doing it for 4 years.
Excellent. Well, I want to put a pin on your story for just a moment and my
Mhm.
story for just a moment. And I want to dig a little bit back into your medical expertise. And I know a little bit about this because I've been doing life with you in the mastermind group for
Mhm.
a while. But for those who are interested, when you say you're a physician's assistant,
Um,
naively, I knew nothing about that before meeting you. I had some people that I knew who had been physician's assistant, but I had no idea what that means. It's like, okay, so you mean you went to school so that you could assist doctors? Is
yeah,
that what you do?
we get that a lot, and a lot of people know more about nurse practitioners. So if you
Okay.
if you know a nurse practitioner, what they do, we're on the same level as they are.
Yep.
So what we do, what in the state of Kentucky, every state's different because they have different regulations for every state. But like for me, I have to have a what they call a supervising doc, and what he does is he signs the charts and things, kind of like an overseer. Some states have more strict regulations. Kentucky's one of the strictest ones, but the other states are a little bit more lax. For instance, with us, like I own my own practice. Me and Danae are, we own our own practice. So we are able to own our own practice. And then what I've done is I've hired out a supervising doc who comes in twice a week and just signs charts and does chart reviews and things like that to meet the regulations. So we
And when you say
do,
and when you say you have your own practice, you guys actually manage a clinic in Kentucky that the patients come to.
right. We've been, and like I said, we've had this since 2003. So we have our own clinic, and I see all the patients in our clinic and take care of them.
All right. So let me ask you, for me, whenever I have something where I feel like I need to go see a doctor or get some medical attention, we have like this thing, it's called St. Elizabeth Physicians Group or whatever. And it's a team of doctors and
Mhm.
they're all MDs, and I just go in and they, check me out or whatever, send me for some blood tests and tell
Mhm.
me what my results are, take x-rays, actually send me out to other people if I need some x-rays or something like that. But I
Right.
go to them, they're my doctor, right?
Mhm.
So my question for you is just to get a little bit more of an understanding of your world and your medical practice. Are there other private doctors in your area that are like my St. Elizabeth
Mhm.
physicians group?
Yeah.
And your patients who come to you, why do they come to you instead of going to one of those medical doctor's offices, or do they actually go to the medical doctor's office and come to you for different things?
No, we treat people from birth until when they're 90 years old. So we treat the whole gamut. I have people that have been seeing me for over 20 years, and I'm the only person they see unless, like you said, they need to be referred to a specialist, like a cardiologist, if they're having heart problems or something like that.
Or an
But as far as
orthopedic doctor or something like that?
right. If there's a specialty that needs to be seen, then we refer them out. But besides that, my own patients, I treat their diabetes, I treat their high blood pressure, their, their common colds, cholesterol problems. We treat the whole gamut. There's probably nothing in our clinic that we don't treat on a monthly basis. I see something from all sorts of different diagnoses.
So,
And I
and so legally, you're not their quote unquote physician, but many people see you as their primary care physician.
Right. I get called, and I have to correct this because there's a legal thing. If someone calls
Yeah.
me doctor, I have to correct that. But if people walk into my office and they don't know I'm a physician assistant, even though it's signed out there, and I tell them if I've never seen them, I always tell them this is who I am. They wouldn't know if I was a doctor or a physician assistant either way, because I've told them there's been a lot of patients I've told them several times they keep calling me doctor, and I have to correct them. But they wouldn't know any different because our office looks like any other physician's office. We have nurses, we have receptionists, the blood work, the diagnosis, we write medications, we treat whatever we need to be treated. We take x-rays, we actually do those in our own clinic. So a lot of times people wouldn't know the difference if they weren't told.
Yep. And so the reason why I bring all of that out, Kevin, is because for me, that speaks to a great level of credibility that you have, especially as it relates to the medical perspective of the ketogenic lifestyle. So for me, when I evaluate who you are and what I've learned about you and what's just been brought out in a little bit of conversation, is you've literally been practicing medicine from a traditional medical perspective for 17 years as a primary medical advisor to patients, just very little different than my own personal doctor that I've seen my entire life.
Right. And we probably have right now, I would guess anywhere between 8,000 and 9,000 patient charts.
Yep.
So we take care of a lot of people.
Okay, so this is wonderful. So here's what I love about this is you said going through medical school and basically being taught about diabetes, and here's how you treat clients that you are patients
Right.
that you have that have diabetes, and this is the nutritional advice we advise you to give to them, which and stuff like which I remember when my mom was diagnosed with diabetes. She's like, listen, it's only a matter of time before you're diagnosed as well.
Right.
Oh boy. And she goes, I want you to go to this nutrition class. And I remember the nutrition class. It's like, listen, you must be able to start learning how to read labels. And you want to make sure that the most important thing is not calories. The only thing, if you only look at one thing, you must look at you look at the number of calories, and then you look at the amount of calories from fat. And it always must be 1/3 or less from fat. That's how you're going to control your sugar.
Right. I still get that. And with us, we have a standard of care. Whether you're a PA, a nurse practitioner, or a doc, you have a standard of care for different diagnoses. And that's one reason why say 5 years ago, keto was really frowned upon, because that wasn't in the standard of care. And if you don't practice when the standard of care, then, if you have something go wrong, then you can be liable for that. But one of the things with all these diagnoses from all these different medical associations, whether it be American Diabetic Association, Heart Association, when it talks about the diet, one of the things that they talk about with that is it is an individualized care. So what it works for one person is not going to work for another. So that kind of gives us some leeway as far as being able to help, treat someone who is diabetic. Maybe for individualized for them, they're going to get, better results for their own body. So if you're able to identify some of the problems that someone has, there's a lot of things that goes on in our clinic and online as well too, that people's medical problems get better just by changing diet.
Right. Well, I want to operate the rest of our conversation with a couple of assumptions about those who are watching this or listening to the audio of this, if they're listening to audio. And so keep this in mind as we filter our conversation moving forward.
Okay.
We're going to assume that the average person watching or listening moving forward, they have heard people talk about the ketogenic diet. They may or may not have tried it. They may or may have not read things about it or whatever the case may be, but they are definitely interested in learning more about the ketogenic diet / lifestyle. What is it like? What do you need to know? So and by the way, this isn't a prescription that this is for everyone, right? You don't believe that, do you? That everybody should be on keto?
No, I think it has to be individualized. And I think almost everybody that I come in contact, keto is a good place to start. And then you start looking as far as individualizing, their nutrition for that person.
Yeah. So from this point forward, I want to first say, and of course, I'm no medical doctor and I don't have to worry about any regulatory disclaimers. I am not a medical professional. I do not play one on television. And this conversation is by no means advice for you to go start the ketogenic lifestyle. My desire to have for you, if you're watching this, is for you to understand a little bit more about what the ketogenic diet is. This is education only. I would encourage you to go seek the advice of a medical professional, whether that be a doctor or your own physician assistant that has their own clinic in your own hometown.
Right.
Does that sound fair?
That sounds good.
All right. So, okay. So you went through, you had all of this medical training to get
Mm-hmm.
even your physician assistant uh, credentials that you have. So
Right.
you have an incredible understanding about how the human body works, biology, the metabolic processes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Years ago, I had never heard of the ketogenic diet. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like it's about 3 years ago for me was the first time I ever heard of this thing. You said that you heard about it or you got introduced to it with Danae 4 years ago, but many years ago, gosh, 15, 20, 25 years ago, I remember hearing something about the Atkins diet.
Right.
And it seemed like that was the beginning for me of people talking about a low carb lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me, because most of the people who have heard about the ketogenic lifestyle, they've also had a history of hearing about the Atkins diet. It was a craze that lasted for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about those other people, but for me, I then started to hear some very bad things that came out later about the Atkins diet. And then I don't know, maybe I'm even mixing things up, but I may have even heard rumors that Dr. Atkins died. And did it have something to do with his Atkins diet? I have no idea. So first of all, can you tell me what is the Atkins diet and how is that different? And how is the ketogenic diet different?
The one thing that's similar between the two is they're both low carb. So they're both low carb. The difference is Atkins is more of a high protein and like a moderate to low fat, whereas keto is a high fat and a moderate amount of protein.
All right.
So that's the difference between the two.
And by the way, if there are, is it right? Am I right? There are 3 macronutrients that make up
Mm-hmm.
all of our food. There is carbohydrates, protein, and fat.
Right. And your body is going to run off, it needs fuel. So let's just start with the basic premise. Your body needs fuel. So you have to give your body fuel to run on. And the standard American diet, which is a higher carb diet, the carbs, if I say carbs or sugar, you kind of interchange the two because that's what your body's going to run off of. And what keto does is it changes that fuel source from carbs or sugar to fat. Protein is kind of like the neutral part of it as well. You can break down protein, but you don't want to because your muscles are made of protein. So what you want to do is you want to concentrate on what fuel source do you want your body to run on. It can run on sugar or it can run on fat, but it cannot run on both of them at the same time. There's some metabolic processes in your body that will not allow that to happen.
Right. And if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of share some of this in language because I have introduced a number of people to the ketogenic lifestyle myself. And some of the success that I've had is using language. Like, for example, for me, when I hear the word sugar, I hate the word sugar anymore. It's
Right.
like, I hate the idea of even thinking about my body running on sugar. But I understand what you mean because it all breaks down into, and am I correct that the technical term is glycogen?
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
glycogen is like your stores of sugar.
stores of sugar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you have glycogen in your liver and your muscles. And if you need a short burst of energy, that's where that's going to come from.
Okay. So your body is taking on a standard diet
Mm-hmm.
when you're not in ketosis,
Mm-hmm.
your body's fuel that it uses to give you the energy to pump your heart, to make your brain think, to
Mm-hmm.
run your cardiovascular system, all the things you do with your body. It's running on carbohydrates, sugar, and sometimes if you haven't eaten for a while, it's probably going to tap into those glycogen stores.
Right.
So it's a lot of stored energy, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So actually, maybe I should say more accurately, not a lot of stored energy, but there's a significant amount, maybe from what I understand from my research about a year ago, about 3 days worth of stored glycogen in your body.
Actually, you have a little bit less than that. You have about 1,500 to 2,000 calories
Okay.
of stored energy.
Okay.
So your body can store that much and it can get that to that energy right then. But then after that, then that energy store is gone. And then you still need like an energy supply.
Excellent. And of course, if you go that long, 15, 20 hours, or if you burn through all of those calories of stored glycogen,
Mm-hmm.
what happens is for you to continue to go with your normal fuel source, you need to give yourself a lot more carbohydrates. You need to fill
Right.
it back up.
You need to continue eating.
Yep. And and for me, the reason why I found the ketogenic lifestyle so beneficial is because I was somebody who was at high risk of becoming a diabetic. I would
Mhm.
say, I think it's safe for me to say now that if I would have gone to the doctor back when I was 276 pounds, chances are if I would have gotten tested at the time, they would have said, yep, you're definitely diabetic at this period of time. We recommend that you either lose lots of weight or let's go ahead and put you on metformin.
Right. Metformin is the number one drug.
Yep. And let's pause on keto for just a moment. Let's
Mhm.
pause on energy sources and let's talk about diabetes, because let's also make some assumption that a majority of the people who are interested in looking into the ketogenic lifestyle, they are looking to lose a significant amount of weight, and they are either immediately, or either they are diabetic now, are on the verge of becoming diabetic, or they're on the road towards
Right.
diabetes.
Mhm.
So let's talk about what causes diabetes.
Diabetes doesn't happen overnight. It's more of like on a continuum.
Yep.
And a lot of that continuum can even start when you're teenage years. And what happens is if you're eating the standard American diet, which is a high carb, high sugar type diet, what's happening is your body keeps getting this sugar in its blood. Now, for your brain to operate at an optimal level, your blood sugar needs to be in a certain range. Fasting less than 100 after you eat 130. So if you're eating a lot of sugar, what happens is your blood sugar starts going up, and then your brain says, "Hey, I don't like this." So it tells your pancreas, "Hey, you need to produce some insulin." And the job of the insulin is to grab a hold of that sugar and put it into a cell, fat cell, muscle cell, of some cell to get that blood sugar down. So what happens over time is you keep asking your pancreas to produce more and more and more insulin. And finally it gets to the point where it says, I can't keep up with the demand. And the first stage you have is called insulin resistance. And you have to produce more insulin to get that blood sugar down. Again, the job of the insulin is to get the sugar out of the blood and put it into a cell. The problem is when I say insulin, I want you to think of fat storage. The more insulin that you have, the more fat you're going to store. And that's that sugar going into those cells.
So
So,
let me ask you, if just because I'm the layman here, and I just want to
mhm,
see if I hear you correctly and if it jives with what I remember from the past. So
mhm,
basically, you're putting tons of sugar into your body.
right.
It's way more than your brain can handle. The levels are too high. So your pancreas is kicking out insulin,
Mhm,
aka the fat storage hormone is another name for it.
correct.
And so what happens is it's like, okay, let's bond this sugar and let's convert. And it doesn't just put the sugar inside of a cell in the way that I've heard it in the past. Although tell me if I'm wrong. This is
Mhm,
why I'm asking to see if I'm understanding this. But it actually takes that sugar and it actually converts it into fat, body
right.
fat, and then stores more fat onto your body. So it's no longer sugar. It's no longer glycogen being
Mhm,
stored for immediate use if you haven't eaten anything for a while. So this isn't glycogen anymore. It's not glycogen. It's not sugar anymore. It's basically taking all of your excess sugar in your body and it's taking it and immediately converting it to fat.
Yeah, because if you think about it, 200 years ago, we didn't have, a Kroger's or a restaurant on every corner. So what would happen is people would eat because your body's amazing. God made it so amazing. It's because if you're eating and you're 200 years ago, you don't know where your next meal's coming from. Well, your body's going to take that excess energy that you had eaten today. You killed something or you got some food. If you don't need it right then your body's going to store it because tomorrow you may not get that food and your body can break down that fat cell, use that sugar for the insulin after it breaks down the fat cell, and then use that for energy tomorrow or the next day if you don't get food. The
So
problem is,
let me pause you there.
huh?
Wait a second. I thought you said that the body typically burns sugar as fuel.
Mhm.
And then if we go without eating for a couple of days because there is no Kroger around and we haven't found any food when we went hunting and gathering, and now
Mhm.
it's burned through the glycogen stores.
Mhm.
Are you how does the body then, and when does the body begin burning that fat as fuel?
That has a lot to do with insulin. And we can get like real technical here. There's something called a hormone sensitive lipase, and that it's an enzyme that breaks down the fat cell because all that fat, all the energy's in there, your triglycerides, it can break it down for energy. The problem is this enzyme that's called the hormone sensitive lipase, it does not work if there's high insulin. So if you're eating, and that's what I said before, you can't burn sugar and burn fat at the same time, because if you're eating something and your insulin's high, it turns off this enzyme and it can't get to the fat cell. What you
I
have to do is to cut down the carbs, make this enzyme start breaking down the fat cells, then weight loss happens.
All right. So I'm going to ask you something. So before I ever went into the ketogenic lifestyle, I spent about 3 years working on my weight loss journey. At that point, I'd probably lost about 80 pounds without ever starting the keto. So before I was introduced to the ketogenic lifestyle, I dropped all the way from like the 270s all the way down to approximately 200 pounds.
Mhm.
And I did all of that without the keto lifestyle. Now, my question is during all of that time, I was mostly eating sugar, high carb diet and stuff like that, but I was controlling the number of calories. I was creating a calorie deficit each day and stuff like that.
Mhm.
How did so much body fat go away if I was consistently still doing all, still doing or consuming carbohydrates so frequently?
Now, do you know how many carbohydrates? Did you track your food or anything along those lines?
Yeah, I was eating lower carbs than I normally did,
Mhm.
but knowing what I know about ketosis,
Mhm.
I don't think I ever got into full blown ketosis because I would have kicked myself out of ketosis. So I can tell you that I do know that when I started intermittent fasting, which is not necessarily tied to keto, but it works a lot in conjunction with
Yeah.
keto. But I did notice that I lost a lot more weight a lot more quickly when I introduced intermittent fasting, which got rid of a lot of the insulin production throughout most of the day.
Right. And
But not enough to get into ketosis to convert my body over to a fat burning machine, as far as I understand.
more than likely, I would say, without knowing the amount of calories you had or how many carbs you had, decreasing the amount of calories probably played a part in it as well. And then also with when you're having the decrease of the sugar, if you're taking in less, calories, then your body still needs energy, and it was probably looking for that source of energy, and you probably weren't in ketosis. And you don't have to be in ketosis to get the benefit of a ketogenic life, because like you said, if you eat something, it's going to throw you out of ketosis for several days, and everybody's a little bit different on that. So you may have gotten some of the results from it, but probably not full-blown ketosis. But
Yeah,
probably the weight loss came from a combination of the decreased carbs than what you're doing before, plus the calories.
yeah, I do. Now that I think about it, I do know specifically. I had decided I was going to cut out all bread, all pasta, deep fried foods, which most of those
Mhm.
would be like the chips, a lot of carbs. So I
Right.
basically did kill a ton of carbs, but I still ate carbs. I'm like, but dude, I was eating baked potatoes. I mean, hello,
Mhm.
baked potatoes with butter and bacon on it. But that baked potato is a big carb bomb,
It's a
right?
lot. Yeah,
It
it's
was
a
a
lot.
major carb bomb. So I was still eating carbs, but still, I do know this, regardless of what I was eating, even though I was eating carbs, I did limit my calorie intake to about 15 to 1800 calories per day,
Mhm.
which is, and of course, you talk about a 250 pound, 260 pound guy at the time, that's a whole lot less than my metabolic whatever you call that thing.
Yeah. The metabolic rate.
Yeah, my metabolic rate. But then on top of that, I was spending between 1 to 2 hours a day burning approximately an additional 600 to 900, sometimes even 1,500 extra calories above and beyond my normal daily activity,
Right.
just routine activity. So imagine this, limiting my calories to 1,500 calories per the day, which is a 500 deficit in calories of my metabolic rate if I did nothing, but then burning in an extra 1,000 to 1,500 calories working out and stuff like that. So are you telling me that there was something happening there that allowed my body to take the fat from my body and use it as energy?
Yeah, because like with you, like you're basing your 1,500 on a 2,000 calorie diet.
Yep.
To maintain where you're at, if you were 250 pounds, it's about 10 calories per pound. So that's 2,500 calories. It's probably to maintain where you are at.
Gotcha.
The problem that I have, like with a lot of the people that I treat, is if they try to decrease their calories, your metabolic over time, your body wants to have homeostasis, and it's going to reset that metabolic rate. So people can lose weight to begin with by decreasing their calories. The problem is continuing to do that if you're still getting your energy from a sugar source.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of times where people get frustrated. And I see this all the time. They come in, they say, I've cut my calories to, 1,100 calories. I used to eat 2,000 or whatever it may be. They get frustrated because, one, they're hungry. And, if what we want to do is prescribe something that you can do for a lifelong. Me and Danae are never hungry.
Right.
We have trained our bodies with a food that affects the hormones in a positive way. Well, we're not hungry. Frank, Frank from our group.
Yep.
He gave me permission to use his name. So I'll tell you about Frank. He started our plan a couple weeks ago, and he's diabetic. I don't know if you knew he's diabetic.
Yep, I do.
He is on 2 different medications. In 10 days, he had lost 12 pounds, a few inches off his waist, and he's down 1 medicine. And he texted me about a week ago, and he had eaten at 10 o'clock that morning, and he had eaten at 3. And he texted me at 9 o'clock, and he says, "Do I have to eat?" I said, "Are you hungry?" He goes, "No." I said, "Well, don't eat, because your body will tell you what you need."
Yep.
So if you're hungry, then you need to eat. We do a lot of fasting. You mentioned fasting before. We incorporate fasting into our lifestyle. And that is such a powerful tool that you can use. And I'm not sure how much or other people know about fasting, but there's all kinds of different fastings. You can do time restricted eating. You can do an alternate day fasting. You can fast 3 days a month. There's all kinds of different things. But if you learn different types of fasting, you can use those tools to get to where you want to be, maintain where you want to be, and then do that the rest of your life.
Yep. So I want to go back to my story and how I can relate this whole situation. So here I am for 3 years. I lose about 70 pounds, and I did all of this stuff. I was like, okay, I'm super insane. I mean, I was obsessed with meeting my goal of finally having a healthy, fit lifestyle. That's like,
it doesn't surprise me knowing you how laser focused you are.
Yep. And so I was on it. And so here's what I will tell you is, so what you were talking about, here's what happened. I did the whole thing. Let's just say I'm 250 pounds at the time. I get that. I'm limiting myself to 1,500 calories. I'm still I'm burning above. And so the weight's flying off of me.
Mm-hmm.
But just like you said, that homeostasis kicks in, and I'm burning the 1,500. I'm eating the 1,500 calories.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still doing the same thing at the gym, and I see all of a sudden this plateau in my weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because I don't have more weight to lose.
Right.
It's just my body has adjusted. Say, okay, well, he obviously burning an extra 1,500 calories at the gym is just what he needs. and I'm going to adjust it's like, I'm going to adjust it to where this 1,500 calories is okay for me to maintain here. And that's what happened.
Right.
And so what I would do is I'm like, okay, well, forget burning 1,500 calories at the gym. I'm going to burn 2,500 calories at the gym, and I would start seeing the weight go down again.
Right.
And that is not sustainable for a lifetime.
Right.
It's
It's really hard. And a lot of people, in the same boat that you were, is they start blaming themselves.
Yep.
They start thinking there's something wrong with me.
Yep.
And the thing that if anybody's listening to this and still on the fence about anything, the one message I would like to have everybody to understand, it's not about the calories. It's about how your food affects your hormones. And I say hormone, insulin is a hormone, for instance. And a lot of people think hormones, they think male, female hormones. But your thyroid hormone, your cortisol, your insulin, all those are hormones. And if you think about how your hormones interact, it's kind of like a delicate dance. In one hormone is going to affect another hormone, and which affects another hormone. That's when you asked me earlier about why did you lose weight on that? It's because there's a dance going on inside your body that, you do some changes, it affects one thing, affects another. I look at it this way, and I try to get people to think about that, is like, those mobiles that's in the baby's crib, they're all balanced. Well, you take off one of those, whatever it may be on those mobiles, it kind of gets shifted a little bit. You take another one off, or you add something, it starts shifting some more. And that's how your hormones are. It's a little dance that's going inside your body. And if we try to get really deep and complicated with this, people just get lost. It's like, whoa, I don't understand. So what I do at our clinic is we concentrate on what I think is the main hormone, and I've mentioned it before, and that's insulin. If we can get your insulin under control, then we can start affecting these other hormones in a way that is more positive for you.
Yep. I'm glad that you moved into the focus, an intense focus on the hormone of insulin, because for me, that was my biggest issue. So, for example, I actually reached my goal, one of my major goals, without ever being on keto. But then I actually gained some weight back. And my friend, and then I told the world, it's like, you know what? It's like, I know why I gained the weight back. I went back to some old eating habits and, this, that. I got focused on, I had to get laser focused on something else, and working out 3.5 hours a day, 6 days a week.
That's tough.
That's what I was doing.
I work out every day. I love to work out, but I can imagine doing 3.5 hours every day of working out.
I did because, but that's not sustainable when you have other things in life you want to do.
Absolutely.
And so Michael Hyatt reached out to me and says, Cliff, I've been doing this keto thing. I think you should check it out. I love working out, but dude, I think you could definitely you could achieve all of your goals in fitness and health without ever, as far as weight,
Right.
you could achieve all of that without ever going to the gym and working out. But don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that. There's lots of reasons for working out, and it's needed for other areas of fitness. But as far as weight management, if you did the ketogenic diet, I promise you would not need to be killing yourself at the gym. Now, there's another reason why I was so thankful that Michael introduced me to this. Was I was diagnosed in my late teens or early 20s as hypoglycemic. How would you describe to people what hypoglycemia is?
I think it goes back to an insulin problem. Again, we talked about earlier, when you eat a lot of sugar, your insulin, it goes up, and the job of the insulin is get that sugar out of the blood and put it into the cells. So what happens is, if you're continuing to eat a lot of sugar, your body has to produce more of the insulin. And then when you start getting a sugar spike, I mentioned insulin resistance before. That just means your insulin doesn't work as well. So you have to produce more of it. And what happens, your sugar starts going up, your body recognizes it. It produces like twice as much, and I'm just using twice, but you say it produces twice as much insulin. And then what happens, your sugar goes up and then it drops real fast.
Yep.
And then people get hypoglycemic. And what do they do next? they have to eat something, right?
Yeah, because so this is how I felt it in my life. So that's
Mhm.
the medical description of what's happening. So what happens is I eat food, aka mostly carbs.
Mhm.
My blood sugar goes up as a result of that. Insulin kicks in, and insulin takes my sugar levels down. But because of how my insulin body is working, it's producing more insulin than it needs. So then what happens is I'm on a sugar high and I'm full of energy, man. Give me a 12-ounce can of Coca-Cola
Right.
and a couple of sweet treats, and boy, look out, world, here I come. But about 35, 40 minutes later, the amount of insulin that's in my body has pushed my sugar levels to where all of a sudden I'm shaking and I'm about ready to pass out because I've got such low blood sugar. And my body knows that, listen, if I don't want to pass out and potentially die or go into a
Right.
coma, I need sugar. My body is subconsciously saying, go get sugar, go get sugar. And
Mhm.
so it's not craving food, it's craving the quickest hit of sugar I can possibly get.
Right.
So what I found is that I was always, anytime I ate, I was always like, let me go get a Snickers bar. That'll make me feel better.
Mhm.
And so I'd eat a whole Snickers bar. And for about 20 minutes, boom, yeah. About 30 minutes later, I'm like, give me sugar. And I used to beat myself up, but it's like, man, why is it that I can go an entire day and eat a family size bag of Doritos, and
Mhm.
then at night eat a pint of ice cream, and throughout the day eat, all this stuff. No wonder I was so big. But what I didn't realize until way too late, what was going on is my body's consistently always wanting to eat sugar or carbs to keep my energy levels up,
Yeah.
so that I don't pass out and go into a low blood sugar coma.
Yeah, because I mean, your body's amazing how it works because, with what you just described, I've been in practice for 25 years. You would not believe how many people have come and told me that they're diabetic now, and they use everybody uses the same terminology. I used to have low blood sugar, but now I have high blood sugar. Well, there is a condition where you can have a tumor that secretes a massive amount of insulin, and I've never seen one in 25 years, but I know it's out there. So there are some medical reasons why that can happen, but the majority of the time is people, like when you say when you were 20, you had insulin resistance at age 20, and if you didn't make changes, like your mama said, you will be a diabetic. So, if someone's sitting here and they think I have low blood sugar, it's probably the start of insulin resistance, which will lead to diabetes. And again, this is on a continuum. This probably won't happen from the beginning to a diagnosis of diabetes in 6 months. Sometimes it takes 10 years. But during those 10 years, you're having all this havoc played on the inside of your body. And metabolically, for your health, there's a lot of damage going on during that time.
So let me explain what happened for me. So understanding, when I learned all of those things, it's like, man, I'm consistently always hungry for more sugar because of the insulin, and not to mention the fact all the sugar that I'm eating because the insulin, it's all being turned into fat because my body,
So
my
you don't
body
need it.
doesn't need it to sit on the couch all day
Yeah.
or
Well, I mean,
to.
like when you have that low blood sugar, because I used to have the same problem too. And there's been people, I have one guy who works in the mines, and he didn't want to do this because he had low blood sugar, and he didn't want to work in the mines because he didn't want to be back there and have an attack. He finally trusted me. Now he's fine.
Yeah.
But I used to have the same problems as well too. So the your body is going to react to the environment that you give to it. And once you start giving it the right nutrients and the right things that it needs, it's again, it's amazing body. It's going to line itself out.
And so what I learned is my problem was an insulin problem.
Right.
It's like I realized I have an insulin problem here. Now the cool thing is I was playing around with some parts of the ketogenic lifestyle and stuff like that through intermittent fasting. So I learned about intermittent fasting before I learned about keto.
Mhm.
And so what happened was because I started hearing people talk about the benefits of fasted workouts in the morning.
Mhm.
So the idea is that you wake up in the morning before you consume anything that kicks in your insulin, because once you have insulin in your body, you can't, it actually blocks you from burning fat. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, it doesn't burn fat because it goes back to the enzyme I talked about earlier. Correct.
So if I eat a Pop-Tart and then head to the gym and work out for 45 minutes, it ain't going to burn no fat.
No,
It's going to burn a Pop-Tart and some stored glycogen.
right. And then if you do the 3-hour workout, then you might burn some fat because
And that's what
you're gonna get through that.
that's
But if you
exactly
wouldn't have
right.
had the Pop Tarts to begin with, like for you, I've been working out for 15 years at least. I personally, I used to get up first thing in the morning and eat breakfast, have a mid-morning snack, a pre-workout, workout at lunch, have a post-workout, eat at 2, eat at 6, and then have a snack before I went to bed. And trying to plan all those meals, it is tiring trying to plan all those meals. But if I didn't eat, I always think I'm not going to build muscle and I'm going to have those hypoglycemic episodes. Now, fast forward to where I'm at now, I usually quit eating around 6 to 7 at night. I get up at 5, start working out around 6, and I don't eat lunch until 12 to 2 o'clock.
Yep.
And it's so much easier and better results.
It's just a little side note. It's 1:47 p.m. today. I have consumed 0 calories so far.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm freaking full of energy. All right, so hold on. So I want to get back into this. So I learned about intermittent fasting, and one of the things that I learned is that if you don't eat food, insulin doesn't get kicked on. It's like, wow, that's cool.
Well,
And
you're always producing a little bit.
okay, but I'm talking about enough that it's actually that it's blocking the fat,
Right.
the burning of fat.
Mhm.
So what I learned is that it's I'm like, okay, maybe I can eat within a certain window. Let's just say, and I started out with like a 6-hour eating window. So if I started eating at 10 a.m., I would be finished eating by 4 p.m.
Right.
So that means if I don't eat a single calorie after 4 p.m., eventually the insulin's going to get out of my body, it be processed through my body.
Mhm.
And as I'm sleeping through the night, it potentially could start burning some fat. When I get up in the morning and go to the gym, it could potentially be burning some fat. And it's like, wow, this is really cool. Now I don't have insulin that is blocking me from burning fat.
Correct.
This is awesome. And so I started to see the benefits of intermittent fasting and actually reducing the amount of time that insulin's really being poured into my bloodstream throughout my body. That was limited to 6 hours a day. And then I eventually limited it to 4 hours a day.
Mhm.
And then I learned about the ketogenic lifestyle.
Mhm.
All right. And so the ketogenic lifestyle, so you said the Atkins diet was a low to no carb, let's say low carb diet that focused high on protein, but low to moderate fat.
Correct.
Now, tell me why is it recognized today that there are issues with a high protein, low fat, low carb diet?
Well, one of the main concerns a lot of people have is their kidneys.
Okay.
It's like an overload on
we like the kidneys, right?
Kidneys are good. God gave you 2 of them. He liked them so better. He gave you 2 of them. But
what happened? What is the potential that could happen to your kidneys if you eat a low carb, low fat, high protein diet?
Just the stress that's put on your kidneys to filter. Your kidneys filter everything. Your blood goes through it. It filters things out, reabsorbs some things, and you urinate some of the things out.
Were you practicing medicine back in the time when Atkins was a really big deal? People were loving the Atkins diet.
Yeah, but I don't think I ever did Atkins.
No, I get that. But
okay.
Back then, did you ever like keep an eye on what was going on in that world, and how many people who were hardcore, how hardcore you and I are in the ketogenic diet. There were people that were that hardcore into Atkins.
Right.
Did you ever pay attention to that enough to know how many people who are super hardcore on Atkins, like we are keto, who actually did experience issues with their kidneys?
No, I was probably more naive at that time because I just kind of took my medical training,
Yep.
and it was against what, so I didn't even really look into it.
Fair
And
enough.
so I wouldn't have a whole lot as far as like observational type, comments on that because I really just didn't pay attention to it.
I love just flat out. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention back then.
Yeah.
That's perfect. But and I want you to correct me wherever I get this wrong. Ketogenic lifestyle. I consider it to be a low carb, high fat, moderate protein diet.
Correct.
Specifically, when you think about the macronutrients, let's not focus on the number of calories you eat per day, but there are a couple things that I would consider to be what is a ketogenic diet when it comes to the overall macronutrients of a 24-hour period of your eating.
Mm-hmm.
That is that your carbohydrates in grams are limited to somewhere less than 30 to 50 grams per day total.
Keto is more 20 or less. I would
Okay.
consider low carb 50 or less.
Okay. So I'm talking. So that's good. I'm glad that you're correcting me because I've heard that 20 is like because I've heard the 20 number,
Mm-hmm.
and then I've heard 30 to 50.
Mm-hmm.
So on the number of grams, and the way that I thought about this is, well, you could probably get up to 30, as much as 30 to 50 grams, depending on your body.
Yeah, I love it.
But if a lot of those grams of carbohydrates are coming from dietary fiber or sugar alcohols, you're probably still going to be in ketosis, no problem at all. And by the way, that I've actually found to be true for myself anyway, because I eat a lot of nuts when I probably shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But so those nuts have a lot of dietary fiber, carbohydrates,
Right.
and I eat a lot of the erythritol snacks from time to time, which have a lot of sugar alcohol. So my total carbs in grams, it has usually been in the 30 to 50 range, but my total net carbs is almost always under 20.
Right.
All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And everybody's, the other message people need to know is everybody's different.
Yep.
For instance, like artificial sweeteners.
Yes.
Sometimes that can kick one person out of ketosis, and then the next person it doesn't.
Yeah, I have learned that as well. So I've heard reports that if you drink Diet Coke, that it's the aspartame will actually spike it will actually kick in an insulin response.
Right.
I am so thankful to learn that aspartame does not do that for me.
Sure.
I should probably not drink the stuff for other reasons,
Mm-hmm.
but at least it doesn't kick on my insulin.
Right.
And I'm happy for that. So when you look at your macronutrients, let's just say it's 20, or actually total percentages, 5% or less carbs per day.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go super hardcore, make sure that 5% is no more than 20 grams. If you want to be like me and play around with and see if you can get by with 30 to 50, if the other are coming from dietary fiber and sugar alcohols, you can play around with that, see if it works. But still, no matter what, you want to keep the carbohydrate piece of the pie to 5% or less.
Correct.
And then my understanding is right around 70 to 75% of your macronutrients should come from fat.
Correct.
And 20 to 25% should come from protein.
Correct.
All
Personally, like me, I do a little bit more protein because I work out every day.
Okay. That was another question I have for you. And this is something for me, here I am a year into it. Let's just say, and this, everyone, I'm actually going to do this. I want to go on 100-mile bike ride.
Mm-hmm.
I am full on into ketosis. And I can tell you right now, I don't need to eat anything. I'm going to stand up here. I've lost weight, but I still have enough fuel right here because that's what my body burns now, right?
Right.
So I have a couple extra storage tanks that I carry along with me on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
My question for you, back before I did ketosis or ketogenic lifestyle, I would go out on a 150-mile bike ride and I'd have to eat like a protein bar that had some carbohydrates and stuff like that in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd need to fuel myself about every 40 minutes.
Correct.
If I'm full on into ketosis and I have plenty of energy, do I need to eat anything during a 9.5 hour, 110-mile bike ride?
You don't have to.
Okay.
A lot of it depends on, how long you've been riding the bike, how
Oh
long
yeah.
you've been keto,
Yeah.
what you've done the last 2 days. So there's so many different factors that go into that, that it's kind of like what you're doing right now is you're experimenting a lot. And that's what you kind of have to do, is experiment, because everybody's carb tolerance is a little bit different. And if you've never done the bike ride and you want to get on there and do that, you may tax your body. But if you've been doing it for a while, your body will adjust, and it will turn to that fat for fuel, and you don't have to have that protein, those type of things in it.
Right.
I'm sure you're doing liquids. I know you do
Oh
electrolytes
yeah.
and things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I have my potassium, magnesium, and sodium all mixed into my water,
I
and
know you did that, but I didn't know if your audience knew
yeah.
you did the
So I want
electrolytes.
to be cautious of your time. We're 56 minutes into this, or at least it's 1:56. Do you need to get off here? Start wrapping up.
Yeah, actually, I got took a little vacation from the clinic today, so I got
Yep.
to get back to the clinic.
So there's a whole lot more that we didn't get into here, but that's okay. This wasn't meant to be a full exhaustive. This is what you need to know to go into the ketogenic lifestyle. But there are a couple things that I want to do to promote what you can learn about the ketogenic
Mhm.
lifestyle from Kevin Davis. So first of all, you mentioned a website earlier called Our Ketogenic Life.
.com.
Our
That's our
Ketogen.
that's our main website that has some information on there. What we do, who we are, kind of gives you a little background.
And then there is a podcast that you and Danae
Mhm.
produce on a regular basis. How many episodes do you have right now of the podcast?
27.
So
We started
20,
we started in November, I believe.
all right, 27 episodes already. And that podcast is called Our Ketogenic Life.
Correct.
All right. And that's available in your favorite podcast directory of choice.
Mhm.
But real quickly, I want you to tell people about the membership program for those who want a little bit more of a guided journey through their ketogenic journey.
We have a membership. It's called fatburnersacademy.com. And we named it that because that's what we want to do. We want to become fat burners. And, for your audience here, if anybody's interested, if they want to go to fatburnersacademy.com/free, you can lose your first 10 pounds on us. It won't cost you. You can look and see what we offer. We have all kinds of things in our membership site. We got exercise, meal plans. But the main thing that I think people benefit from, and we just had a call last night, is we do a Zoom call a couple times a month where people can get on and answer. I can answer questions real time, so we get on just like we are right now, and that they can get over some roadblocks and some stalls. That it's like in our podcast, I use it as an example. Is we put a garden out this year, first time ever I've ever put out a garden. I hired somebody to come and show me how to do the garden. Now, I could have gone on YouTube, I could have done all this stuff, but I wanted someone just to sit there and walk me through, how much soil do you mix together? So, if you have somebody there that can help get you through some stalls and some questions, because a lot of people quit doing keto because they don't do it right and they say it doesn't work for me. But if you have someone just to kind of just help you over those roadblocks, get through them, and then you can get to where Cliff's at now. He's a diehard keto guy, and because he sees the benefits from it, not just now, but lifelong.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to get on there, it's just fatburnersacademy.com/free, and you can join for free, and you can lose your first 10 pounds on us.
All right. So it's Fat Burners, plural,
Correct.
fatburnersacademy.com/free.
Right.
Awesome. Kevin, I'm going to let you drop out. I'm going to continue talking for about 5 or 10 minutes. I want to make a case for keto for people and tell people a little bit more about my journey.
Okay.
But I'm definitely at the end of even my section. I will give them another recommendation of that link as well.
Okay. I appreciate you having me on here, Cliff.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. All right, my friends. So thank you, Kevin, for that. I just want to say real quickly about what happened with my ketogenic lifestyle. I started implementing the intermittent fasting situation, and that was awesome. But when I discovered what keto does is it actually begins to deprive your body of glycogen and sugar as a fuel source. So what happens if you limit your carbs per day to 5% or less, or 20 grams per less, or what we talked about just a few moments ago, when you begin to limit the percentage of carbs down to this low 5% or less per day, then all of a sudden your body begins to use up all of the sugar that's in the food that you're eating, which has almost none in it. And then your body starts tapping into your glycogen stores. So he talked about the fact that this sugar is stored in your different various parts of your body as what's called glycogen. And it only stores about, I think he said 1,500 to 2,000 calories worth of that. And then once that's gone, then your body's like, okay, I still need fuel, but you're not giving it any more sugar to fuel your body. And so what happens, in my understanding, and of course I don't have Kevin here right now to correct me, but what happens is your body says, okay, well, what can I use? What can I use? And eventually it says, well, hey, there's all this fat here. And your body will begin immediately to inefficiently, but it will begin to use the fat in your body as fuel for being able to think with your brain, to be able to pump all the blood through your system and all this stuff, and to be able to have the energy to lift up your water bottle or weights or whatever you do. Now, what happens is after you have gone a couple of days and eventually a couple of weeks, your body begins to say, you know what? I really like this fat that you're using for fuel here. And it begins to start adjusting your biology and the chemical makeup of what's happening in your body. And over time, your body becomes what's called fat adapted. Now, Kevin's not on here to correct me, but that can happen after, as I think some people said it takes approximately 6 weeks for the average person, but everybody's different. But even before you're fully fat adapted, your body doesn't have carbohydrates, so it is burning fat. And what I think the reason where the keto name comes from is that you actually start having something that's left over in your body afterwards, which are called ketones. And the ketones is what fuels your body and all of this other stuff. But here's what I will tell you. Your body becomes a fat burning machine. That is actually what is fueling your body. And because of that, when you are actually consuming and eating your meal throughout the day, your high fat, moderate protein, low carb meal, it's immediately going to take the food that you just ate and it's going to immediately start using that for fuel right away. But if you actually, once that's all been consumed and you continue to do things that require energy, then it immediately starts taking more fat right from your stored body fat in your body. This is why once I went on the ketogenic lifestyle, I've always seen a consistent, ongoing result for me physically in my weight loss journey, and a whole lot less required calories burned at the gym. I still love to go to the gym. I still work out 6 days a week, every week for the rest of my life. I always will. It's a part of who I am these days. But I don't do that for weight management. I do that for the strength, for the cardiovascular, for my immune system, for a lot of other reasons. But when it comes to weight management, I now realize that I can actually maintain the weight and the lifestyle I want when it comes to my weight loss journey, or actually my maintaining weight journey. I can do all of that through diet alone. And I do that through the ketogenic lifestyle. There's a whole lot more that you can learn about keto. I highly recommend that you check out Kevin and Danae's podcast. It's called Our Ketogenic Life. And check that out in your favorite podcast directory. And I do encourage you to check out Kevin's program. It's called the Fat Burners Academy, fatburnersacademy.com/free, and see if you give it a shot. See if you like it. I do recommend, though, it's not my advice that you go on the ketogenic lifestyle, but if you want to test all the stuff out, the good news is that you'd be getting some advice from a medical professional and not just some guy you met on the internet. All right. And wait, I just want to end this real quickly one more time. I'm not a medical professional. I am not suggesting that you go on a ketogenic lifestyle or the keto diet for you. I recommend that you evaluate what is right for you. Talk to a medical professional. Go talk to your family doctor about it. Unfortunately, some of them will still be under the original guidance of the American Diabetes Association and the cardiovascular recommendations, and they'll probably suggest that, no, I think you're probably safer with a low-fat diet, blah, 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 blah. I know. I recommend that you go out there and do a lot of research about what all of this stuff is about and make a decision, an informed decision. But definitely make a decision of what's going to work for you and with the medical advice that you feel confident in. All right. fatburnersacademy.com/free. Thank you so much, Kevin Davis, for just your friendship. Thank you for the time that you invested here today in the conversation. And if you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and maybe I can bring Kevin into checking out some of those comments and answering them for you if you have any questions. All right. Thank you guys so much. Until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do in life to the next level. Bye-bye.